Welcome to the Live Sport podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe.
Hey, I'm here with my friend Chris Rosales. Chris and I have played baseball and tennis together. Chris is very good at baseball and tennis. Chris now spends his time playing pickleball. This is Live Better, Explore More podcast. I'm Alan Mayseal. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Alan. Thanks for having me here.
All right, why pickleball?
Well, why pickleball? You know, pickleball's been around since 1965. I had never heard of it up until about 4 years ago. And I think the pandemic really gave it legs, you know, because people were looking for something to do. We were all isolated. The racquetball players couldn't be indoors. People couldn't connect anymore. There was this sport that a patient of mine, I'm a physical therapist. I had a patient come to me with elbow trouble. She said, do you play tennis? Do you play racquetball? Do you play ping pong? Yes to all those things. Well, there's something I think you're going to want to try, and it's pickleball, which I had never heard of. So she brought me out to Hill Gym, which is down in Marin in Novato, and she introduced me to this game. I was hooked straight away. So the appeal of pickleball is that it's very accessible for people of all ages. Coming from baseball and tennis, which I had a passion for, I got to say, as much as I love baseball, I think it's ill-suited to aging athletes. I mean, here we're talking about a sport where you're pretty much immobile for about 90%. You're either standing or sitting. Then all of a sudden, you're going to try to run as fast as you can. So as you know, you get someone to first base, they get a hit, but they can't run. So then they say, we need a runner. Then you're looking down the bench, you're all leaning, thinking, well, who can run? And we're all rubbing different body parts. And we're thinking, okay, going forward, I'm just looking for longevity. I think this is a sustainable sport for people who are getting older. And it's really found its place with older population. That being said, if you go on YouTube or you look at championship matches, it's the younger generation, and it's really fun. I mean, if you look at the Olympics and you say, okay, I'm going to watch badminton, and you see these people playing badminton, and you think, that's not what I play. Or ping pong, table tennis. So, okay. So pickleball is something that it's this spectrum of abilities, but everybody can play at some level and have a good time.
So does that mean no more baseball, no more tennis?
I am.
People are listening. Just so you know,
Yeah.
There are baseball teams out there right now listening because you're a really good pitcher and you can swing the bat. And you're the only one who doesn't seem to get injured. So for a guy who left the sport because of longevity and injuries, you're probably the only one who doesn't get hurt.
Okay, well, maybe that's my hat as a physical therapist because, all right, let's look at Correa, for example. Nobody wanted. We thought that guy was going to get this big contract.
Right.
Eventually, the medical community evaluated him, and that just changed for very obvious reasons. To know that what is sustainable in terms of what can the body put up with over the years. How are you going to age and play this sport? My last season playing, I had my knee. I had to get an injection. I was pitching, and I sprained my MCL pitching off a high mound. I've had my elbow sculpt for loose bodies debridement from pitching. I mean, it's overuse. I mean, it's a violent sport in terms of throwing, right?
That's true. If
Yes.
you're a pitcher, it's really violent.
And I just went out and had dinner with Zach Zeisler. So you remember Zach? And he said, I talked to Mark, and I told him that I'm going to get you to come out again. And as much as I loved baseball for so many reasons, for the camaraderie, for the great experiences, for going to Cuba, for, going to Arizona, I'm comfortable moving on from that because I've found something that gives me connection to people, challenges me athletically, challenges me in the sense that I can really work to get better at it. You're going to ask me this question about is there ranking or ratings in pickleball, right?
Right.
Just like tennis.
Right.
Well, there is. And tennis, you can get up to 5-0 is the high level, same as in pickleball. Now, the thing that's different, if I picked up tennis at the age of 40, I'm not going to get to a 5-0. You just can't because as much practice and skill development as that takes, there's just not enough time to do that. So tennis players who become professional, they start at a young age. They don't start in midlife and then become professional. You never hear of that happening. Pickleball allows you to do that. I mean, if you're athletically inclined and if you're disciplined and you want to put in the work, you can actually get to a professional level later in life. That's pretty remarkable. So I'm ambitious in the sense that I want to keep getting better because I'm really driven by this sport. I mean, it's really, really just very fun. And I've been trying to get you too.
I'm working there.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think of my friends. Because what I know as far as baseball goes, okay, so say you play baseball on a Sunday.
Yeah.
You're sore for 3 days.
Yeah.
Right? Can you imagine playing baseball every day?
No.
No, I mean, we do it when we go to Arizona and we would play in the tournaments and we would just struggle to get off the bench.
Yeah, and then you would spend the next month, though, not doing anything because you couldn't.
Right.
You get liver damage from the ibuprofen.
Exactly right. I could play pickleball 2 times a day, sometimes 3 hours at a time, and get up and do it again the next day and not groan and feel okay about it. Wow. In fact, that's what I try to do.
So let me see if I understand when I said baseball, tennis, is it you just need more money? I got it. No worries. Okay, is pickleball social like tennis? Now, when I say social like tennis, if you get into a match almost at any level, it can get a little hyper competitive.
Right.
But if you're playing out there like you and I have played, right, where it's not a match, we're just out playing at the park, and it's a lot of fun, and you can stop and socialize, and you could, crack some jokes, and nobody gets upset that you're not taking it serious, right? So how is pickleball in terms of maybe a match in tennis? Mm-hmm. Right, and a match in pickleball, are they similar, way different? What would you say?
Well, when I was playing tennis, I would do USTA tennis too. I'd play team tennis. And the culture is very different once you go from rec playing with your buddies and laughing and, yucking it up to playing a USTA match. The culture is very different. People take the calls very seriously. I'm not sure that people were enjoying each other as much. That's true in pickleball, too, to a certain extent, because, for example, I played in the wine country, the senior games, and that's going to be coming up again in June, which is a great event to invite people over the age of 50 to participate in various sports, including tennis. But once you step in a tournament environment, things kind of change a little bit. There's not a bunch of yucking it up, talking smack, just laughing at yourself. People get somewhat serious. And as you get higher up in your skill level, I'm sorry to say that people are really looking for more serious play. So I actually prefer at times to play with people who are just there to have a good time. Because, the world's kind of messy right now. You think, okay, I don't want to play something in my spare time that creates stress. I want to relieve my stress. I want to connect with people. And in doing that, I want to exercise and feel connected with people and feel challenged. And pickleball allows me to do all that stuff. But I will say, as you go higher up in the levels, people get somewhat serious. And it's a little different of a culture. So I notice that everywhere I play.
Right.
It can be, as you get better, can be somewhat exclusionary, where the higher ranked players don't want to play with people who aren't as skilled. That's a bit of a bummer in the sport, unfortunately, but that's probably true in anything. Because as you get better, you're thinking a rally could last maybe 40 shots. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's a game of patience and it's a game of strategy and skill. So you're not looking to hit a winner straight away. You're looking for the opponent to make a mistake and you capitalize on that. But as people get better and better, they don't make those mistakes. So now, say you have a group of 4 or 5 players, 3 of them, and then you have someone who's maybe a 3-0 or 3-5. That person just doesn't have the same skill set or experience, so they're gonna hit a ball. They're gonna just hit a high ball that's easily put away, and you don't get these great rallies. So it's not as engaging in that sense. But I try to remind myself that we all started that way. And we can all remember someone who took us under their wing and was patient and just encouraged us to, this is what you could have done that was different. This is how you get better. So it's kind of a long-winded answer to your question. It can be as social as you allow it to be. And you find the group of people that have that same perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. So you touched on a couple of things. One, I'm going to get back to the senior games. But so let's do that now, and then I'll follow up with the next one. So talk about the senior games. What is that? Where is it? What is it? I mean, I realize senior games, so it's not going to be somebody like Isaiah, who's 22, and in 10 years has a chance to be 32. Like us, we're 60-something, and hopefully in 10 years we got a chance to be 70-something.
Right.
So tell me about that.
It's put on by the Council on Aging. It's been going on for quite some time. It during the pandemic, it was canceled. So for two years, we didn't have it. In terms of pickleball, it used to be at Finley Park up in Santa Rosa. But Sunrise Park in Rohnert Park positioned themselves to host it for the first time last year because they converted half of their tennis courts into pickleball courts.
Wow.
And then they put lines on the remaining 6 tennis courts to accommodate pickleball. So you could actually have 12 courts going. So they had the facilities to do it. And it was a huge success. So you have to be 50 and over. It is divided by skill level and age group. So, so it would be like 50 to 55. That would be a group. And within that group, there would be subgroups of skill level. Because they want to match you with like-skilled and like-aged people so that you have competitive matches. So that's coming up in June. Again, it was such a success at Sunrise Park in Rohnert Park that they're hosting it again. And it's from June 9th to June 11th.
Okay.
So on June 9th, which is the Friday, it's the women. So it'll be all women's doubles and women's singles. I will be barbecuing, so feel free to come by for a burger or a hot dog. I'll be there.
Any mezcal?
Just on the side. Yeah. Okay. Yes. There will be mezcal.
I want the mezcal burger.
And then on Saturday, that'll be mixed. So it'll be mixed teams.
Okay.
And then on Sunday is men's. So that's typically the way it's structured.
So think of last year. On Friday was the women's, right? Mm-hmm. Saturday's mixed. Sunday's men's. How many people are hanging out? Like when we played baseball, there were 3 people in the stands, and those 3 people were there because the court said it's a part of your punishment, right? Nobody showed up because, they really wanted to be there. They lost a bet. Something bad happened.
Right.
Okay. How many people are there for the senior games?
There's a lot of people because it's ongoing. So there's a lot of matches being played. You have friends and family coming to root you on. They managed to roll up the windscreens so that people can sit all around the facility and be spectators. There's a lot of community support for it. And then when it gets down to the championship matches, there's standing room only.
Wow.
So people really get behind it quite a bit.
Community support, what do you mean by that specifically?
Well, I just say that people like to come out to watch people play. They like to, you could have your grandpa playing, which happens to be me oftentimes, and your grandkids are cheering you on. You could have a grandpa, just getting back to the accessibility, sorry, I'm digressing.
No, keep going.
You can have your grandkid playing with you on a team. On the professional level, there's a 15-year-old who's the top-ranked female, plays with her mom, and they're a top-ranked team. So it obliterates the age distinctions that you find in just about every other sport. Like, where can a 70-year-old play successfully with a 16-year-old and have a good team?
Wow.
That's what's beautiful about it. So I've gotten all my kids out there. So everybody plays.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you guys get team names, you get sponsorship, what do you do?
At the higher level, you do get sponsorships. So you get the different manufacturers of equipment sponsoring you. There are a few people in Sonoma County who have reached that level. They're playing on a professional level now. Again, and they did that within a 5-year period, a rise to that level. Huh. So, people can do that.
Okay. Good enough. How many people ask you about pickleball besides me? So that's one.
You know what? I can't keep my mouth shut. So as a physical therapist, I have a captive audience. And as a physical therapist, my job is to get people moving. So when I get someone who's just lamenting the fact that, they get tired when they walk, up the stairs, and I ask them if they exercise, well, they don't. I say, look, I got something for you. I got something that you may feel you can't do, but you can do. Some of the top players have had their knees replaced, their hips replaced, rotator cuff surgery. I mean, there's not the same level of limitation. I don't think you could play tennis or baseball if you've had both knees replaced. I don't think you could do that successfully.
Right.
There's a guy down in Marin who plays. He's 67 years old. He's had both knees replaced. And not only is he one of the top players in his division and age group, he plays singles. So you can play pickleball as a singles sport too, which I used to think was a young man's game, but he does it very successfully.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know that. All right. So for Christmas, I got one of these. And we got a sleeve of these, only to have you ridicule us for going outside with these balls, because these balls are not for outside. They're for...
Well, you got that
No,
backwards.
go
You're
ahead.
so close. Because
That's what I said, this one.
That's the one. That's indoor ball.
Okay. And then this one's outdoor.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So why? What? Seriously? The holes are bigger.
Yeah. You know what? I can't answer that question because
I stumped you?
you did stump me
Oh,
on
hang
that.
on a second. Pause. Put a check mark right here at this point.
It's so funny because people will play with this ball, and it seems like you're getting a fine rally, but then you get a purist come in and say, well, what are you doing playing with that ball? So, well, what about the fact that we were just playing and it would seem to be okay? Well, you got to play with the right ball.
Okay. So which one's the right ball? This one?
That would be for outdoors, yeah.
Okay. Let me put that one over there so I don't screw it up again. All right. So now I got these. Where on the 101 corridor do I play? I mean, as a beginner, right? And you know I'm a beginner,
Yeah.
right? You spent some time with me, right? So
So
where can I go play? And is there a set time, date? Like, hey, every Wednesday at 6 o'clock at Lucchese,
yeah.
that's a time for beginners.
Yes. And what I would refer people to is Sonoma County Pickleball Club.com. Because on there, it's going to answer that question you just gave me. It's going to list every single place in Sonoma County where you can play. And then when answering your question about beginners, I would refer people to Petaluma Parks and Recreation's website because on there they'll list free clinics. There's 2 coming up. One, in fact, starts tomorrow between 4 and 5 right here at Lucchese Park. So it's a free clinic for people wanting to learn a little bit about pickleball. You don't have to bring anything. You would just show up. They'll give you a paddle. They'll teach you what you need to know.
Wow.
I kid you not. It is a sport that maybe it'll take 15 minutes for you to learn the basics. In another 15 minutes, you're already having rallies. You're already playing a game. So I don't know another sport where it's that fast acting. It's very quick. So Parks and Recreations through Petaluma is where you'd register. They are offering intermediate classes. They're offering fundamental classes, drilling classes. All that's coming up. I know one of them starts in February, and they did it last year very successfully as well. So it's everywhere. That's just Lucchese Park. I will say I'm going to give a shout-out to the Pengel sisters because there's a group of these very charismatic and skillful – there's an army of them. I mean, the Pengels, they're all retired law enforcement from San Francisco. They all live in Sonoma County. And out of the goodness of their heart, they very generously offer a free clinic at Sunrise Park every Saturday at 8:30. That would be the place that I'd refer people to straight away because it's free. You're going to make a lot of connections. You're going to find a lot of people just like you who are just starting out. Once you make those connections, you got a bunch of friends. I mean, it's a very bonding sport because you're all laughing together. You're enjoying each other's company. You're playing the sport that's very engaging, and you got this group of friends that you start to make plans. You start to say, okay, when are we going to play again? Because that's what you want to do. As soon as you play for the first time, you want to know when you're going to play again.
Right.
Yeah.
So what about pickup? Like so.
Open play.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like so, like you can go down to a basketball court. And pretty much any time there's a game going on and you get to kind of fit in and play. I know this is a little different, but and typically with tennis, you wouldn't just show up at a park, you would have at least one other person with you.
Yeah.
But like every Wednesday, I see you at Lucchese. Oh, not every, but a lot of them. Okay.
If it's not raining, I'm probably there.
And is that like an open play kind of thing?
Open play right now at Lucchese is Tuesdays, Thursdays at 5 o'clock. That's open play. There's open play every day starting at 8:30 at Sunrise Park. So you can show up and there's going to be people there. Saturdays is nuts at Sunrise because we actually have to put up a sign-up board now. There's so many people playing that you have to rotate off. Once you play points to 11, games to 11, then you come off the court. You say open court, the next group comes on. It's very cooperative that way, and it works really well at Sunrise and at Lucchese. The sport somehow brings out goodness in people. You know, people tend to be very cooperative. If they see someone who's maybe struggling and not knowing exactly what to do as far as playing, it seems like it taps into someone's inner goodness to help them out. You just want to help them out. And I see that so many times. So if you're playing and your game's over and you look to the side and you see someone waiting, you invite them in. So it's typically not a problem. The problem becomes when groups start to form up by skill level. Typically what happens is a beginning player understands their place and won't try to insert themselves in a group that's higher level. It's just kind of an unwritten rule is you want to look at like skilled groupings. Right. And that typically happens. So at Sunrise, you have two sides. You have the pickleball courts, then you have the tennis courts converted to pickleball, and those are usually the beginners, and they tend to be on that side of the fence. The hope is that they're going to get good enough to come to the other side and play. I had a proposal that we would have what's called Pickle Pals, and you would pair yourself up with someone who's just learning and teach them the game. So play with them, and while you're playing, teach them how to play the game, because it's not just about hitting the ball hard. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You get people who have come from racquetball. You play racquetball, right?
No, I haven't.
You've never played racquetball?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you usually want to whack the ball, like low, fast, hard shots. And maybe in tennis, if you're a ground stroker, you're at the baseline. You love your forehand stroke, and you can hit it hard.
Right.
That's not pickleball. So you get these people coming from these sports thinking that's the sport I'm going to play, but on this miniature court. That's 1/4 the size of a tennis court. I'm going to import my racquetball knowledge and tennis knowledge and play pickleball and dominate everybody. And it doesn't take long for you to realize that it's not working. So it's a softer finesse game, but there is a time when you want to drive a ball.
But that's usually a ball up high, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I learned that too. I tried to put top spin and it flipped it up in the air and it came back in a hurry.
Well, the good part is you do want to wear goggles if you're not wearing sunglasses, because I'll tell people if you look at this ball, I mean it's not like baseball. You take this in your nose, that's bad news.
It hurts.
If someone slams this at you, hits you in the head, you're going to be okay. I mean, you might have a little circle embedded right there, but it's going to go away in a few days. But you really can't get hurt by the ball.
Right.
So when you got what we call a banger up there, just going to smack the ball as hard as they can, the nice thing is all you do is you just use their power against them, and you just catch the ball with the paddle and let them, knock themselves out and hit it as hard as they can, and you're just going to block the ball. So you can't really get hurt. So I tell people, look, be at the kitchen line, which is right by the net, and don't be afraid of the ball because you're not going to get hurt. But you need to have goggles on because that's one thing that could happen. You could get hit in the eye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tournaments besides the senior, right? Have you played? I mean, like in baseball, you would go to Woodland on Labor Day, Arizona in October. Is there any other tournaments, or what's the status of tournament play?
There's a gazillion tournaments. Tournaments are everywhere all the time. And for you to get a ranking of 4.5 to 5.0, you have to play in those tournaments within that rating and be successful. And that's how you get your 4.5 to 5.0 rating. I haven't done that yet. I've been approached to be a partner for people. And like I alluded to previously, when you're in a tournament, everything shifts. The culture shifts. The whole atmosphere shifts. It's very serious business. And, I'd like to be competitive, but I'm trying to keep perspective also. And I'm thinking, okay, how important is that? Is it important for me to win medals and to get that ranking? Or do I just want to spend my time being competitive and having fun and getting better? So I'm kind of at this point right now where do I want to invest into advancing to that level or not?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
But
Good
there's
answer.
always I tournaments. Yeah.
I mean, when I say locally, within driving, right? Not, I don't want to drive to Fresno.
Yeah. Yeah. Oakley was the most recent one, so that's on the way to Sacramento.
Yeah.
That's a big tournament. I know down like in San Diego. So Bobby Riggs, this kind of tells you about the sport. Bobby Riggs had his tennis center down there in Encinitas. He's converted everything but maybe 2 tennis courts to pickleball courts now.
Wow.
It's pissing off some of the tennis players because, they feel like their territory's being, impinged upon, and it's shrinking. The footprint for tennis courts is starting to shrink. But if you go to Lucchese, as you know, you'll go there. Those 3 tennis courts rarely have anybody on them, and the pickleball courts are always packed.
I had this conversation with one of our group that was playing tennis, and I said, it's just a matter of a couple more months, and there's going to be another tennis court down.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make sense to have that many people playing and even standing around waiting to play pickleball, and 2 of the 3 courts of tennis are open.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how many other courts around town are in that same position.
Yeah, I think McNair striped their courts.
Okay.
They were resurfaced. But I get it. We need to accommodate tennis players. If they don't want to switch over to pickleball, I totally understand it. You spend your life playing tennis, that's your passion. There should be room for everybody.
Right.
But when you look at the economics of it, you think, okay, you got 4 people playing to 11. They're going to be done in 15 minutes or less, and then you rotate another group on. Then you got the 2 people playing singles tennis. They're there for 2 hours, taking up a court that could essentially accommodate more like 32 people, right?
That's right.
So, anyhow, tennis was here first, and we got to accept that there's tennis players, and everybody needs to get along. There's got to be enough room for everybody.
Okay, last question. Let's wrap this up with this. I'm going to start out. How expense-wise, right?
Oh.
I know you can get away with pretty much any pair of tennis shoes, right, to start. But like racket, what am I cost-wise? Like you can get them for this. Tennis rackets, you can buy one for $50 or $300.
Okay, well, first of all, the first dead giveaway.
Don't call it a paddle.
Newbie is don't call it a racket.
Listen,
It's
this
a
is
paddle.
my podcast. It's a damn racket.
So, as you're beginning, it's not that important.
Okay.
Because you're trying to learn the fundamentals.
Okay.
When you start to develop power and finesse control, then you start to invest in something a little more expensive. I would say for the first year, once you start playing, don't spend more than $100 for your paddle. Now you get people, as you get more advanced, paddles can be $250.
Wow.
So, you got composite paddles, you got a paddle for everything. So I consider myself more control than power. And I like to spin. So that comes from ping pong. And it's a great skill to have in pickleball because it drives people nuts. So, so my paddle has a little grit on it. It's actually a paddle for spin and control. But if I try to hit that ball hard and drive it, it doesn't have a lot of power. But that's okay because that's not my game.
Right.
So I would suggest to people, once you learn the sport and kind of get a sense of it, try other people's paddles, see how it feels. And then just see which one feels good for you. Everybody swears by their paddle. So it's funny. You'll be playing with someone, and then they'll be screwing up, and they just stop and say, I got to go switch paddles. And then they go switch paddles, and they still are having a hard time. So it's not the paddle so much. Right.
Yeah, that's right. It's not the baseball glove. It's not the bat. That's funny. All right. Listen, hey, thanks a lot for coming on.
Oh, it's been
Appreciate
fun.
it. That was great knowledge. And I got to get out.
Okay, so we're meeting some friends at 4:30 at Lucchese.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's always something with you.
Okay, well, if not
Today, what's
so any Tuesday, Thursday that's not raining,
Okay.
come after 5. So my clinic's across the street, right, from the
Okay.
park. So I'll just go over there at 5. And then I'm going to bring you along.
okay?
You're going to be my partner. I'm going to yell at you a lot. No. Mostly,
Yeah, you will.
mostly laugh at you.
That's right.
But, I know you can be really good at it. I know you could be. And my hope is as you start to play this, it's going to get its hooks in you too. And then you're going to play with your wife. Because I got to say, Elise and I mean, we play all the time. And now we're meeting another couple to play.
Right.
Because that's what it does. I mean, you could play at a very high competitive level, and then you could play at a social level, and then you could play with your kids, and you're always going to have fun playing.
Nice.
And on your Apple Watch, on the little exercise, there's pickleball on there. So then you get your steps in, you get your heart rate, how many calories you burn. I will say that, I played for 3 hours. I've gotten really skinny, and it's not because I don't eat. It's because I just play pickleball all the time. So people who are looking to just stay healthy and exercise, get their heart rates up, and not be on a treadmill or on an elliptical or on a rowing machine for hours, how tedious that is to burn 200 calories. You can play pickleball for an hour, yuck it up, have fun, and you got your exercise in.
There goes our sponsorship of all the gyms in the area. Nice. Just killed all that income. Thanks a lot for coming.
All right.
That'll do it.
Welcome to the Live Explore podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe.